I still remember the way her smile used to light up a room. Back then, it belonged to me, or at least I thought it did. Her name was Claire, and when she laughed, it was the kind of sound that made people turn their heads. Not because it was loud, but because it was full of something rare, pure warmth. I'd been chasing that warmth ever since the day I met her. But lately, it felt like running after sunlight in winter. That night, we were at her company's annual dinner. I wasn't supposed to be there, really. She'd mentioned it offhand a few weeks before, calling it just a work thing. But when she got dressed, black dress, low back, her hair brushed over one shoulder, I offered to drive her, just to spend a little more time together. She hesitated, then smiled and said, "Sure, if you want to." Those words didn't sound like an invitation. They sounded like permission. The venue was one of those upscale downtown hotels, chandeliers glinting above perfectly folded napkins. I felt out of place but tried not to show it. Claire was in her element, laughing, shaking hands, moving between groups like she belonged to all of them. I stood by the bar, nursing a drink, pretending to check my phone. That's when it happened. She was standing a few feet away, talking to one of her coworkers, a tall guy with the kind of confidence that didn't need words. He said something and she smiled. Not just any smile. It was the smile, the one that used to be mine. But what froze me wasn't the smile. It was what she did next. She turned her head slightly, met my eyes across the room, and said my name, James. It wasn't loud, just soft enough to carry over the music. Her coworker looked at me, then back at her. She laughed again, like it was nothing, like I was some casual mention. But something inside me cracked open. I didn't know why a single word could feel like a betrayal until that moment. The rest of the evening felt like moving through fog. Every word she said to others, every glance, every small touch on someone's arm, it all burned in my chest. When we finally got home, I didn't speak. She kicked off her heels, poured herself a glass of wine, and asked, "What's wrong with you tonight?" I wanted to say everything. That I'd seen her, really seen her, and something between us had changed in that instant. But instead I said, "Nothing, just tired." She nodded like she didn't believe me but didn't care enough to ask again. For weeks after that night, her name on my phone stopped feeling exciting. The calls became shorter, her texts later. I'd wake up to find her already gone. And when she came home, she'd be scrolling through her phone before I even said hello. It wasn't that she was cruel. She was just elsewhere. Her body was in our apartment, but her attention belonged to someone else. And the worst part? I couldn't even prove it. There was no evidence, no affair, no fight. Just a slow, quiet unraveling that no one talks about because it doesn't make noise. One evening, while she was cooking dinner, I tried to start a conversation. "Claire," I said softly, "do you ever think about us? About how we used to be?" She stirred the sauce without looking at me. "James, not everything has to feel like a movie. People change." "Yeah," I said. "I guess I just didn't expect the script to change without me knowing." She sighed. "Can we not do this tonight? I've had a long day." And that was it. Another small wall built between us. Another door quietly closed. But 2 days later, something happened that changed everything. And it started with a message she never meant for me to see. It was late on a Wednesday night when it happened. Claire had fallen asleep on the couch, her phone still glowing on the coffee table beside her. A notification lit up the screen, and I don't know what possessed me. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear, but I reached for it. The message preview was short, but it felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. "You looked beautiful tonight. He doesn't even realize what he has." It was from a contact saved as Matt Work, the same guy from that company dinner. For a long time, I just stared at the screen. I didn't open the chat, didn't scroll, didn't need to. The truth was already there, written between those few words. She might not have crossed the physical line yet, but emotionally, she was already gone. The next morning, she woke up like nothing had happened. She smiled sleepily, made coffee, kissed my cheek, and asked if I'd be home for dinner. I nodded, pretending, but inside, something shifted. I realized I couldn't keep chasing someone who had already stopped running toward me. That day, I went to work and started thinking clearly for the first time in months. Not with anger, just clarity. I began gathering small pieces of myself that I'd given away over the years. Passwords, accounts, the spare key to her office drawer. I didn't plan revenge. I planned freedom. When I got home, Claire was sitting at the dining table, typing on her laptop. She looked up and smiled, that same polite, distant smile that had replaced affection. "Hey, you're early," she said. "Yeah," I replied quietly. "I thought we should talk." Her fingers froze above the keyboard. "About what?" "About us," I said. "About how you look at me like I'm a stranger you happen to live with." She frowned. "James, not this again. I told you I'm just tired lately. Work's been." I interrupted softly. "Matt says you looked beautiful the other night." The color drained from her face. "You went through my phone?" "I didn't mean to," I said. "Your screen lit up. The message found me, not the other way around." She looked down, her voice trembling. "It's not what you think." I nodded. "That's the thing, Claire. I don't think anymore." "I know." For a moment, silence hung between us, thick and heavy. Then she whispered, "I never meant to hurt you." I believed her. That's the worst part. I truly believed she didn't mean to, but intention doesn't erase impact. I stood up, walked to our bedroom, and began packing a small suitcase. She followed me, eyes red. "You're leaving." "I think we both already did," I said quietly. "I'm just the one admitting it." She started crying, saying she'd fix it, that it wasn't serious, that she just liked the attention. I listened, but my heart didn't move. Something inside me had already closed off the door she kept knocking on. When I reached the door, suitcase in hand, she said my name, just like she had that night at the party. But this time it didn't break me. "James," she whispered, "please don't go." I turned to her and said, "You looked at another man and smiled, Claire. Then you said my name like it meant nothing. And that moment changed everything." Her tears fell, but I didn't wait for more words. Some stories don't need an ending, they just stop making sense. Months passed. I moved to a smaller place near the coast. Quiet, peaceful. At first, I missed her voice, her laugh, her morning routines. But then I realized I didn't miss her. I missed the version of her that loved me back. The one that existed before the smiles faded and the distance grew. Sometimes, on cold mornings, I still think about that dinner night. About the chandelier lights and the sound of her laughter blending with strangers. And though it used to feel like the moment everything broke, I've started to see it differently. It wasn't the end. It was the moment I finally saw the truth. That love isn't lost in loud arguments or slammed doors. It dies quietly, in polite smiles and small silences. And when you finally notice, it's already gone.